Some of the very best films that I saw in 2021 were documentaries. Indeed, it was a very good year for adventurous non-fiction filmmaking, as Kizzy Cox reports.
2021 brought us buzzworthy documentaries that ran the gamut, from Roadrunner, a portrait of the late celebrity chef and TV host Anthony Bourdain, to The First Wave.
Guys, we need some help in here now.
One of a slew of films detailing the pandemic. But one documentary broke the storytelling mold, Flee.
There are a few really remarkable films this year that are getting Oscar buzz, which are documentaries. One of them is Flee, which is a perfect example of how documentaries are blurring lines these days. It is a foreign language film, it's an animated film, and it's a documentary. And it excels in all three of those categories.
Flee tells the story of Amin, an Afghan refugee who fled the Taliban in the 1990s as a boy. His difficult, solitary journey from Kabul to Moscow, then Copenhagen, was one he'd never told anybody. Filmmaker Jonas Poher Rasmussen said choosing animation as a way to tell the story freed Amin to share details of his life as a refugee that he'd kept secret for 25 years.
What you see in the film, what you hear in the film, is the very first time he talks about these things, and it's difficult for him to talk about. So the fact that he could stay anonymous and wouldn't, meet people in the street who would ask him about his traumas, his secrets, was really key to free him and to enable him to open up and share his story.
Flee's strength lies in humanizing those who make the dangerous trek from hardship into safer parts of the world. Amin is gay, so it's also a story of a man becoming comfortable with his sexual orientation. Rasmussen says the film is compelling because it tells the universal story of trying to find a place to belong. There were also documentaries immersed in musical nostalgia, like Todd Haynes' film on the iconic 60s rock band Velvet Underground. Don't let me down. Peter Jackson's Get Back, a 3-part documentary on the Beatles' final album, and Amir Questlove Thompson's debut film, Summer of Soul, which tells the previously untold story of 1969's Harlem Cultural Festival in New York. The festival is a celebration of Black performers, and the film's been getting a lot of love from critics. The Harlem Cultural Festival was hidden from the public for decades. It happened right here in Mount Morris Park in the summer of 1969, the same summer as Woodstock. But it was overshadowed by that music festival. But now, it's stepping out of the shadows and basking in its own light. The film is filled with stars such as Mahalia Jackson, Gladys Knight, and Stevie Wonder. But you can't separate the festival from what was happening in the nation during a very tumultuous era. Cities were burning, tensions were high, and Black people were moving into a new phase in the fight for racial equality. It was no longer just about civil rights, but there was a move in consciousness, and people were embracing Blackness itself. Like Gladys Knight said in the film, we want progress. We want our people lifting us up.
2 gentlemen approached me about this mythical, alleged Black Woodstock festival that happened 50 years ago that I couldn't Google, that none of my music expert friends knew about. Then they came in with 40 hours on a hard drive, and I was like, wait a minute, this really happened? So, the burning question of how could this just sit in someone's basement for 50 years and not one person have the power to bring it to light, that was on my mind.
Of course, all of these documentaries are being released at a time when the pandemic has been having a big impact on our lives, which has perhaps been increasing our appetite for them as well.
More people were at home quarantining and watching a lot of television and binge watching a lot of things like Tiger King.
My name's Joe Exotic and this is Sarge.
One of the first documentaries that everybody watched when the pandemic started, and Get Back being one of the most recent things that people are watching, and both of them are hours and hours long. But people make the time and are patient enough for it. I don't think they would have been as patient 20 years ago.
Yeah.